Hello, everyone. This afternoon, I have the joy and privilege of interviewing Jim. Hello, Jim.
Hi, Francine. Pleasure to be with you.
Oh, it's really lovely to start the year with you. So here are my questions for you. What was the moment that made you say, okay, I'm done with that, and fully devote yourself to Mastering Alchemy?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I'll tell you, it'll be a very odd comment. I was running for mayor of San Jose, California. I was on the city council. I was the vice mayor, and I would have won this race. It was back in the 70s. And the closer I got to the race, the more uncomfortable I got and the more disturbed it became. And there was a truth. I knew it was the wrong thing to do. I knew it in the heart, and I knew it in my third chakra, because that really kept hurting, oddly. And it got to the point where it was so painful that to push against a non-truth, that when I finally realized, and it was tough, I was going to win. I had hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank of other people's money. And how do you say the day before you announce, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do this? And it was that moment where it was like, this is not my path in life.
So you really lived what you talk about us being in our truth. Where is the root of our seniority?
Yeah, it's all in the heart. It's all in your truth. And it's when you recognize that truth, the heart speaks to you constantly. And, you've heard me say this a lot of times, that internal guidance system 100% supports you. You come down on your feet every time, even though you're staring at something and everybody else is saying, go in this direction. And internally, it's like, no, this isn't a good idea. 100% in my reality, it turned out it was following that truth was the answer for my direction.
What makes you slip?
Slip. I think it's not paying attention. Now, you hear me say this all the time, and sometimes I'll talk about how we observe in concentric circles.
Yes.
It's like I say, take a breath and be present, and you get really tight and you get focused, you get quiet, you get very precise in that awareness. Other times you go, hey, hi, nice to see you, to somebody. You're kind of out a little further away from that center point.
Yeah.
So I think the slipping is a level of finding mastery and recognizing, oops, I'm not in the right place. I find that sometimes I'll be out a little further in my concentric circles and say something in a way to somebody where I realize that wasn't as precise as I could have been, or I could have said something where it would have uplifted that person rather than missing the opportunity that was presented. And that's where I notice that I slip, or I pay attention to.
And do you ever get into a kind of a new wave that it creates because you haven't paid attention in that first circle, that whoops, now you're going into a little more of a bigger slip? Or do you catch yourself right away?
I think I catch myself pretty quickly. I don't find my life being challenged anymore like it had been at different points in time. And all those points in times were simply, oh, I wasn't paying attention, or I didn't ask the right question, or I kind of jumped in and then realized, oh, I didn't notice such and such at the time.
What is the tool that you use the most?
I don't think there is one that I use the most. And what I mean by that is, and I think this is this is so simple, it's not understood by a lot of people, even in Mastering Alchemy, because the question is, that's the question will get asked, what tool do I use? But when you really take a look at it, when you align and center your head on my side of the rose, grounded, present time, quiet, aware, observing, you are the tool. See, it all begins to be in that everything presents at the moment it is required if you're in that alignment. And you're really very much in that heart space, allowing and being, not needing, not out in the future, but really right in present time. And what happens is, particularly for everybody who has, and this is, the tools are so simple, so many times they're missed. And so, but that platform of words, certain, capable, gracious, seniority, and then intermix words in and out of that grouping. But when you're in that space, whatever presents in front of you, the words align immediately. It's like everything just rearranges, and here I am. And it's a unit of alignment, of opportunities to address, to speak, to present, to experience, that just show up.
So they all work together as a unit. It's become a unit.
Yes, yes.
What is your morning routine?
I'll get up and I'll walk outside and kind of say hello to the day. I'll sit down with Roxanne and just kind of really just find our space, or just kind of set the day in a manner of speaking, just kind of really be quiet. And then something I've been doing of late is playing the game Sudoku on the because I'm finding that there's opportunities to be more precise, be more present in this space, actually present in this new aspect at Octave. There's so much opening. It's as if you all of a sudden stepped up on the side of the mountain above the tree line, and there's a whole world out there that you never saw. But this world is really quiet. It's subtle. It requires asking a question of it. What are you? How does this work? What's going on here? And it's in that ability to notice that is really kind of a skill that is being requested of everybody, noticing. I find it amazing because all of a sudden it's like, I know something I didn't know a minute ago, and I'm very clear, oh, this is how that works. And I think that's the space where this mastery class in Mastering Alchemy is presenting, and it's so subtle, and yet everything is right there to be just massaged a little bit into position. Same thing was said all along. It's going to bed the night before, clearing out your day, enjoying your day, and then really just setting the energy for where you're going to sleep. It's a simple go to the gardens, and then come back into the space consciously where you have been in your sleep space. Just bring it back with you, and then just absorb into the day. So you don't really, it's not a jolting, I'm awake, I'm asleep, I'm awake. It just begins to be an extension of where you just were in your sleep space.
Yeah, because in the jolting, there's the efforting. And when you're in the efforting, you're not in the octave.
Exactly. Exactly.
If I can ask you, what can we do for you? After all these years that you've been leading us, what can people like me who are playing with you and enjoying it and working at it and what would you ask us to do for you?
Tell me what you're experiencing. I don't mean day to day, I went to the store. I mean, really, this space we're starting to play, all those jigsaw puzzle pieces are on the table, and I'm fascinated, but I don't know. And everybody at this level where we're now starting to play have really clearly their own path. And so we're really talking in a generalization about creating this new realm of consciousness and bringing it into a physicalness so everybody can play in it. And everybody's having different slight experiences. And it really goes back to noticing. But I want to hear, what are you noticing? You know, what is that subtleness? And you're noticing a lot, even though you go, well, I don't know what I'm noticing and I don't have anything to say. Yes, you do. And so that space of beginning to talk to one another. And so we've set up this Discord, we've set up this community.
Yes.
Play there. The more you start talking to one another, the more you're going to be fascinated by, oh, I knew that. Oh, I saw that. Oh, I had that experience the other day. And without that communication, you are not recognizing what you are experiencing in a way that it begins to be, I know that, and now I can apply that. So this next phase is really important about communicating with one another, you know, but I'm really interested in you guiding me to guide you at this point.
And when we recognize each other's experiences, it's also becoming easier for us not to be a hider anymore.
Very much so. Very much so.
Okay, so my last question will be, after 20 years or so with Mastering Alchemy, what has been most fun, rewarding, or gratifying to you about Mastering Alchemy? And
I think the most fun has been conferences.
Mm.
You know, you get between, depending on what the conference is, between 50 in the level 2 conference up to 500 in the other conferences, and they've always been fun. I mean, people laugh, people get to gauge with one another. It's just set in an energy where work is accomplished. And one of the things that I've said in those conferences is, don't go home without saying hello to me. It didn't matter how many people were. And it got to be the point where there'd be 100 people standing in line at the end of the conference to get a hug. And yeah, it didn't matter. I was always the last one to leave because that was important and it was enjoyable. So that was the fun. I think the most gratifying part of it is that it works. It works. And when you watch people begin to recognize that they're in the world, but not of that 3D world, a big shift happens. And they realize that it was somebody else's, you're not okay. It never was my not okay. And you start to see, as people begin to get grounded and start to think from the heart, all that baggage just starts to fall away. And I think the gratifying thing is the thousands of people who have found themselves just by playing with this little bit of instruction.
That's wonderful. So to come full circle, I'd say if you had kept on your political path, I'm not sure you would have gotten all these hugs.
I think that's exactly correct. I agree with you 100%.
So I thank you so much for that day where you made that choice and you brought us all together. And I thank you for this interview, Jim.
Great. Thanks, Francine. It's a delight talking with you, and be happy to do it anytime.